Okay, welcome back to another week in 2018. Wanted to take a little time this morning to kind of review where we've been and talk about the next step of where we're going. So, if you remember from our manifestation model, we said, well, we might have a vision that we want to create in life, and that's good. And then we need to look at where we're at now, kind of look at what that gap is, and figure out how to fill that gap. And we said there were 7 steps to the model. Step 1 being build a gratitude foundation. You need to be grateful for where you're at right now before moving forward. The second step was to acknowledge your higher power, or your source, so that you can draw on that higher power as you move forward. And then I said there was 5 other steps to the model that we're going to work on. We spent a number of weeks on creating clarity of vision, and we're ready to move on to the next step in the model, step number 4, which would be connect and being present to the now. And what do I mean by that? So now is the only time that exists. Now is free of regret, fear, anxiety, stories, etc. Now is the only time that your higher power operates in, not in the past and not in the future, in the now. Now is the only place that you can act effectively without distraction of worry about the future or dwelling on the past. So being in the now is a moment by moment choice that you make. If you are distracted by dwelling on past hurts or worrying about future scenarios that may or may not ever happen, you're distracted from being present in the now and really enjoying life. And when you're distracted from being in the now, you sometimes miss the voice in the now. Sometimes this voice is called intuition, but really it's your higher power speaking to you. A little story about that. So in 1999, I was down in Baja, Mexico on my boat, and I was headed out to the islands outside of La Paz, and I heard a voice say, "You better stop and get some gas." But I was excited to get out to the islands, and I didn't want to take time to stop and get some gas. So I was sailing out to the islands, and it was time to come into the anchorage and drop the sails, and I ran out of gas. So I had to sail into the anchorage, and then I spent a bunch of time trying to get my engines working again, because if you know anything about diesel engines, once you run out of gas in a diesel engine, you have to get fuel back in all of the lines for the thing to start up again. It's a real pain. So I was able to get one of my 2 engines working again, got some gas from a local boater. And when I went back to La Paz, I was operating on one engine. I couldn't really control my boat well in the high winds that were blowing me into the dock. And good thing I had my fenders out, because I smashed into that dock hard. But the lesson was, when you hear a voice telling you to do something in the present, that's your higher power guidance. So listen to that, because if you don't, you have to deal with the consequences. All right. So one of the best places to learn, there's a couple good places to learn about being in the now. One of them, the best books I've ever read about being in the now, is The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. Some really great stuff. He was made popular by Oprah Winfrey, wrote this book, The Power of Now, back in 1997. He's got a number of books that he's released since then. But really boil it down, is, you can see some of the quotes here from him, is about being in the now and being in touch with your feelings. You're closer to the truth of who you are than you'll ever be through trying to think things through. And I like this last quote. He says, am I at ease in the moment? Is a good question to ask yourself frequently. If you're not at ease in the moment, it probably means you're worried about something that's going to happen in the future, or you're dwelling on some past hurt. So some of the things we're going to do going forward and working through this model of manifestation is clearing out past hurts and managing future anxieties. so that you can be effective in the now. And there's a lot of stuff around meditation, tons of sources around meditation. And I saw something recently where it said every really successful entrepreneur, business person, leader is practicing some form of meditation. And it makes sense, right? Because through meditation, you're able to connect with your higher power, get the guidance that you need to take the most optimal actions in your life. Beyond meditation, though, the practice of contemplation is a continuous connection to your higher power every waking moment. And so if you feel like you've mastered meditation, then consider this year taking on contemplation. And a good source for learning more about contemplation is the Center for Action and Contemplation, which was started by Richard Rohr. I think they're out in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I'll put a link in the notes to CAC, and I'll also link to Richard Rohr's Daily Meditation, which I have found very helpful. Okay, I'm going to leave you this week with an exercise, and the exercise is to turn off the stories in your head and focus on your five senses for 10 minutes. If you can do this every day, it's great. It's just a way to get you in touch with the now. So the idea here is to focus on what do you see? What do you really see around you? What do you really hear? What do you feel on your skin, on your face, in your hair? What do you smell in your environment? And are there things that you can taste? So those are your five senses, right? So take a moment to look around you and notice all of the things that you didn't notice before because you weren't present in the now. You are thinking about what you need to do, or you're agonizing over what somebody said to you yesterday. But put all that aside and just focus on what's here and now. And what you're going to find when you focus on the here and now is that you're going to get in touch with your deeper self and your higher power. So try that out. Send me some comments on, if you do this exercise, send me some comments on how that went for you in the blog notes. And if you feel like what I'm sharing here could benefit others, please pass it on to them. Still looking to grow the list here and get to more people. So looking for you to be the ambassadors to take it out there for me. And I'll talk to you next week. Have a good one.